Ah! All right, there we go. All right, welcome to another episode of The Deep End with Deep and got a new name there, T Dubstitute.
I just put a D. You said to put a D on
Yeah,
the front.
I said T Dubs, but we were going with T Dubstitute. That doesn't test my English skills. Dubstitute. Very nice.
What's going on?
Not much, man. How are you doing? Why is screaming out "very good"? You order food and pink towel. Things that will always make us laugh.
Favorite. Yeah, always.
I don't think pink towel is a word, right? We established that many, many years ago.
It is now.
The entire time I was in,
Gotta be a person.
I just remember the entire time I was in college, all 9 years, I insisted pink towel was a word.
Yeah, and it was.
Yeah. So,
All right.
sports. Let's talk about sports. Oh yeah, you got your channel. What's the channel called?
My channel? I haven't started it yet, but I'm just gonna start.
No, the UVA one.
Oh, Locker Room Access.
Locker Room Access. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. That's the best place to go if you're a UVA Wahoo.
Yeah, that's right. For Wahoo fans, started it 2019 with a couple of guys who actually made the NBA. Who I'd met at UVA, and yeah,
and they all had COVID, right?
Pretty much.
Interesting.
And then it's been kicking ever since. We do merch, we do podcasts, videos, we have a forum that's really busy. It's great, man. We grow and grow. It's been 4 years of working on it, and it's been really fun. Like, I learned a ton. It's a passion of mine, I got crazy Virginia stories, and it's just a perfect match for me on a business and personal.
Well, you can see it, right? Like all over your wall, Wahoo, your hat. Why is it Wahoo? What's the story behind that?
The story was that there's a bunch of stories out there. Nobody really knows. But one of them is back in the day, some guys came from a different school and went out with, to a fraternity and saw that the Virginia guys drank very heavily, and they said they drink like wahoos, which is apparently a fish that swims with its mouth open and drinks a ton of water. It's called a wahoo. It moves through the water with its mouth open, something like that. And I think all fish do that, but whatever. They said they're a bunch of wahoos, is what they said, meaning they drink a lot, and that stuck. So it started from supposedly from some kind of fraternity thing, but I don't really know. And then now it's wahoo wah is what everyone says.
Got it.
I say go Hoos. I just take the middle part, Hoos.
Yeah.
But they're officially the Cavaliers.
But nobody calls them the Cavs, right? Because that's like
people do, more casual maybe.
Yeah.
But like the real hardcore fans go Hoos or Wahoos.
So like most interesting things that started with alcohol is basically what you're saying.
Pretty much. It's an alcohol.
Okay.
Which is hilarious.
Well, check the box. Not appropriate for kids. Another episode down the drain.
Wahoos.
I like it, man.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say when I was a kid. So I'm born and raised actually right there in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
And as a little kid, my parents loved basketball. I mean, loved it. And Ralph Sampson was like the number one player. We were the number one team. This is like 1980, 81, 82. So I was, a young little whippersnapper running around. Yeah. And one of the things my brother and they would threaten us with, if Virginia, we got to watch the game. If Virginia loses, you're going to get spanked and you're going to get grounded.
Really? They would smack the crap out of it. Wow.
I mean, they just threatened it because Virginia lost 3 times a year. Like back then, they never were number one. They would never lose. So we'd play a crappy game.
Yeah.
But my brother and I would be on the edge of our seat because we're like, come on, like I don't want to get beat. So yeah, I don't. My life is on the line, literally. So we would watch games like that as kids, and then like the threat went away, and we continued our rest of our lives watching games like our lives are on the line, which is kind of fun, but like it's very at this age it's very bizarre. I'm not gonna even lie to
Yeah.
you, but like we built a tradition in our house of like it's Virginia basketball. It means everything. Like as a kid, my parents would schedule dinner trips, our world around the schedule of UVA,
Beatings. Yeah.
and we'd all get around and watch the games, and like we would cheer like our like our livelihood was on the line for as a kid. It was like I didn't want to get grounded, I didn't want to get spanked,
That's so
and
funny.
so like that carried through my entire life. Like literally I watched, you remember,
Yeah.
I could say I've missed, in terms of watching a game live or listening live, I've probably missed a handful of games my entire life.
Yeah, there's been many times I was in the car with you listening to UVA games on the way back to us.
So I'm like, I mean, when I moved to California, I bought a Sling Media as a prototype. I don't know if you remember that, but it was like I plugged it into a Charlottesville home and I had an IP address and I could watch the TV. So I literally left the cable box on with the Sling box so that I could dial in. This is like dial-in internet days. I would dial in and watch our cable box so I could see every game.
And you're
Yeah,
first gen, right? From your family, like your parents were immigrant.
yeah.
So for
My parents immigrated and then had us, like, so we're technically like 1.5.
1.5, but if you think about it, that's awesome that they identify with basketball. And then it wasn't even like NBA, it was the local team, and
Totally.
and then they built a whole like beating regimen around it. Like that's phenomenal.
I mean, it taught me like, so I think about that with my own kids, and I'm like, do I? So I don't push it at all with them. I'm kind of, we just watch. I reward. If we win, I'm like, we try to like do something fun.
Yeah.
I do the reverse, right? I don't threaten the
I like
loss. It's
that.
more like, hey, if we win, I'm gonna give you.
Plus, you don't want to
or
lock
whatever.
yourself down to just beating them. Then you want to keep it open. So
so-
that's your city, right? Like you're all the way out in California, but your city is always going to be Seaville, Charlottesville, and because of that, UVA is your team. So my question is, is it just UVA basketball or is it anything UVA?
I mean, for my fanaticism, it's just UVA basketball, but I follow football. I follow, if lacrosse is playing softball, I'll watch it, but I'm not like in like UVA, like basketball. I'm into who are recruiting, like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's like part of my life. I can't deny it at this point.
Fanaticism.
It's part of my DNA. It literally is. For me, it is.
Is that a real
and
word?
like, yeah, that's what it is.
Fanatic.
That's where fan comes from. I'm a fan.
I've never used that.
I would say that is the. I mean, over the years, I've adapted. Now that I have kids and I have, obviously priorities. Dad gets sick. All these things. It puts things in perspective a lot.
Yeah.
But like that, I just realized how lucky I was as a kid to have basketball matter to me at that level. Like I was spoiled, obviously. Like to have everything you want and then the thing you care about is a game. It's kind of amazing. I'm not gonna lie. Like that's a blessed life to live. Like I always say that to thank my parents for that.
It's a good upbringing.
It's amazing that other people are like worried about parents surviving or who knows, right?
Yeah.
Like what are you gonna have food on the table? You can have electricity. I'm worried about Ralph Sampson.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's good. You're exactly right. But like going out to California now, have you latched on to other teams, or is it just you support your city and it's
I'm Virginia all the way. I support it in the best way I can. I have some Virginia had a player go to the Warriors, so I've watched. I even had the Warriors season tickets for a few years, and I just really went to watch the UVA players come to town. But
that's crazy.
Yeah, secondarily, I'll cheer for UVA guys against the Warriors, but like I can't. It's too many years of you're talking about. I moved out here when I was 21, so that's almost probably 15 years of hardcore fandom of like it's hard to turn that off, like,
so that's kind of insane. I think you're doing it the right way, and it's commendable, and it's like I want that level of what did you call it? Fanaticism.
Yeah.
I don't have that. We live in Texas now. We live in, close to Dallas. So my daughter goes to University of Texas in Austin. So I'm a Longhorns fan, like through and through.
Yeah, now you have
die hard every single game. Like, I've got everything, merch, everything, Longhorns. And then I'm a Cowboys fan because we live here. I used to like the Cowboys when I was a little kid. But then because we lived on the East Coast and it was at that time Redskins, now it's called, what do they call the Native Americans or generalists? The Mandarins. But then I like hockey and I used to be a Penguins fan and now I'm a Stars fan.
That's what I remember.
Right? I was a Pens fan for many, many years. And, mainly because of my cousin that got me into it. But now I'm a Stars fan because I support local. And then I love the Blue Jays. That's the only, I'll forever be a Blue Jays fan, but also follow the Rangers. And then I kind of realize it's getting to be too much to manage. Like on any given night, when you have cross seasons happening, I could be watching a Rangers game and then like a Stars game, and it's just too much.
Yeah, I that's why I just stick with my lane. Like as a kid, I remember like I'd like, obviously I love Jordan. You can see the Jordan thing in my back. I love Michael Jordan, and Allen Iverson was from Virginia, and I saw him. So I had like other like secondarily, but like as I've gotten older, I've kind of just narrowed it down. I just watch UVA. Like there's one thing I can be fanatical about. I'm picking that, and then everything else is kind of secondary. Like everything else is,
I think I got to start doing that because, and then you're crossing time zones. It gets to be too hard, like the Jays are playing on the East Coast and I'm in Central and I don't know what time it is and I'm trying to go to bed at 4:30. It's just,
yeah.
So
I mean, to really follow a team is it's not easy. Like people think, oh, you just watch the games, but if you're like really a fan, the coaches, the plays, what they're doing, who's hurt, off season, like who they're picking up, who they're recruiting, who they're thinking about, all of that.
Would you see in practice?
It's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. If you're really into it, it's like all year round type
all
of
the
thing.
time. You're following their social media, where'd they go, what happened. Family members having birthdays and where are they? What are they doing? Somebody got sprained their ankle. It's just a lot. You get invested, and then when you have kids, it's like I got to limit it. I got to shorten this down. Yeah. So I don't know about your kids, but I try to get the kids watching, so they watch some of the Longhorns football. They watch the Cowboys games. Even my wife, she got involved.
I try, and I will say back, when I was young, probably in mid-20s. When I first moved out here, I would be like, these people aren't real fans. They don't know what that's about. Like, and I couldn't relate because I was like, how can you just like loosely follow a team? You don't really care then. Why are you watching it? Why bother? Because me and you, we go all the way or we don't do it.
Yeah.
And now today, I'm much more understanding. Like I get the prioritization of that much more as a grown ass man.
Yeah.
But as a kid, as a young man that was single and could do whatever I want, I was like, yeah, and this is what I'm into. Any other way is weird. Like, why would you follow this team and that team?
Yeah.
But now I get it, man. I like it.
And you're following based on city. You're based on where you grew up, or now where I live, or where my daughter goes to school. Then you add an element of surprise. You're Indian, and India versus Pakistan is going on in the cricket championship, and I'm like, this is not very
Holy
good.
Cow.
Not very
And
good.
I was telling you last night, we have an Indian guy committed to play for Virginia next year.
So there you go.
Like,
now
you gotta come with me too. I'm like, you gotta come with me.
Now all of a sudden I'm going to be a UVA fan. It's just like
you have to be.
I have to. So because of that, now I got to drop something. You know what I mean?
The first Canadian-born Indian basketball player in college.
The only difference between him and I is he plays basketball.
And so he's
big difference.
Browntown in Charlottesville now. Let's go.
I like it, man.
I'm excited. We had Kihei Clark, who was part Chinese. He was like one of the first ever part Chinese to make it as the point guard for a national championship team at UVA.
Yeah.
And like I got to know his family. Like they're close.
Did
friends.
you really?
Like it's crazy. Like this full circle of the thing. But yeah, it's wild, man. It takes your like fandom to a whole nother level. Like at this point, like I know some of the coaches, like Ronnie Weidman is an assistant coach there, and I met him when they first started coaching, and like it's nothing to do with UV at this point. Like that's, I'll do anything for that guy. He's an incredible part of my life. So it's wild. Like they introduced me to people. Like I have a friend, like that guy right there.
Yeah.
Justin Anderson. For family friend Ty Jerome, that jersey I showed, another family friend. Like
that's awesome.
Anthony Gill, Devin. I went to Anthony Gill, is a UVA player. He plays for the Wizards. Went to his wedding. Like I love the guy. Like Devin Hall, he played for the Thunder. Same deal. Like
so what you're into, wedding. And then you got friends out of it. I mean, it's like I kind of equate that to like our Uber Eats driver, right? We really know him well.
Your Amazon delivery guy.
Amazon delivery driver. Yep. The guy at KFC. He's good.
It literally has changed my life. Like it is my life. I tell my brother, it is at this point. It is not just a thing. Like this is my life.
Yeah.
This is what I love. This is what I've dedicated my life to. Believe it or not, as silly as that may sound, Elon is trying to get us to Mars. I'm just a fan of Virginia basketball.
I like it, man. You pee orange. All right, let me